let's go ahead and get started in with the material. Today, we wanted to pick up with Chapter 4. And Chapter 4 is all about fine-tuning, like we promised you. Yeah, how can we make sure that the intrusion prevention system is working beautifully for our particular environment? One way we might do that is to create our own custom signatures. Yeah, when would we ever create a custom signature, especially considering all of the incredible signatures that Cisco gave us for all of the most important threats to our environment? Well, you do it if you do indeed have particular threats that are very unique to your environment. So if you are in a situation where there is custom applications that are being attacked, and obviously Cisco didn't know how to define that, we can go in and create our own custom signatures. It might be that you're aware of an attack before Cisco is. If that's the case and Cisco doesn't have an available signature yet, you would go ahead and take advantage of the custom signature creation capabilities inside the intrusion prevention system. And you may be thinking to yourself, my goodness, it's so complicated to create a signature. How would I ever be able to do that on my own? Well, as we're going to see, Cisco provides some really dramatic assistance in the form of a wizard to help you through the process. Hey, you remember how IPS works, right? IPS functions based on all of those great signature engines. And we spent a lot of time in this course going through the signature engines and ensuring that we understood what each one of them did. And we took a look at examples of signatures that are tied to those particular engines. So we took a look at all of that. And you should be familiar with those engines as we talk about this topic. What's the custom signature creation process? Well, first of all, you got to clearly know your attack. Yeah, you have to have a very clear description of exactly what the attack is and does that you're trying to prevent. So we come up with a very clear-cut description of the exploit. Then we describe how we could capture that particular event, right? In other words, what would we do in IPS's configuration language to catch that particular attack? Then we would test this signature, obviously, very thoroughly test it, make sure it works. Do any tuning that might be necessary, and that's something that we're going to talk about next, is how do we fine-tune the sensor to eliminate these things? And then finally, we deploy it. So very, very cool. And with your deployment, you would take advantage of all of the nice odds and ends that we talked about with intrusion prevention systems, like doing things like the summarization of the alerts and doing things like the event action overrides or the event action filters. So we'd take advantage of all of those great features when we are actually deploying our custom signature. Now, when it comes to matching on particular malicious network traffic, remember we match on things like specific values in headers, as we saw with the atomic engines. We match on particular patterns, like we saw with the string engines. We can match on thresholds and counters with the rate-based engines. We can even engage in correlation. You remember that correlation deals with and, or both and or logic for particular signatures firing in a particular timing interval based on a particular key. Now, one of the things that you are going to be utilizing at some point, if you do a lot of signature creation, you're going to end up utilizing regular expressions, aren't you? Yeah, sure. Regular expressions we know are going to be used to capture particular string values, right? Regular expressions are those special characters that give logic to describe patterns in the packet. An example, for instance, is the simple pipe to indicate an OR operation. So look at this example. We do Cisco or Cisco. And we would capture, what will we capture? Well, we'd capture lowercase Cisco. We'd capture Francisco because that matches this particular portion of the string. So you notice how the pipe symbol here in a regular expression gives you that OR logic. And there's no way we're going to try and teach you and have you master regular expressions here, but it's interesting, our course does give you a pretty decent review. So they talk about how we can use the dash operator, how we can use brackets, which would give you a character choice, how we can use the dot, how we can use the asterisk, how we can use the slash, how we can use the question mark, okay, the plus, the curly brackets, how we can use the caret, the dollar sign, how we can do repetition in our regular expressions. So the course does give you a nice review. Now, where could we find this information online? That might be nice to take a look at. Let me try something and see how it works. Oh, that's funny. That is funny. There is a website dedicated to regular expressions. Okay, I'm not surprised. So www.regular-expressions.info, and we've got a tutorial. So here's a tutorial on the characters. So it is giving us information about all those special characters that we can use. So cool. Like, oh, wow, and it really breaks them down. Look at this. So here's everything we wanted to know about the dot in the regular expression. So, as you can see, there is just great resources available for you. There is a regular expressions reference available at cisco.com. Let me see if I can find it. It would be support all products. This is where I always start. iOS. Let's go to like 12.4. Configuration guides. And I believe it's in the old terminal services configuration guide. Maybe it's one of the appendixes. Yeah, look it. I did find it. That's hilarious. So if we go into our 12.4 operating system documentation for our routers and switches, or for our routers, I should say, there's the dial-in terminal services, okay, this old legacy document, and here is a document on regular expressions that's really good. So it leads you through what all the characters does, and it gives you examples. So this document is excellent. Notice you can go ahead and grab this document as a PDF up here in the top right corner. So you can grab this document as a PDF and print it out. So there you go. Plenty of resources for you to master your regular expressions. And if you have an adaptive security appliance laying around, there is a test feature of your regular expressions available inside your ASDM. Yeah, inside the graphical user interface to manage your adaptive security appliance, you do indeed have a regular expression testing vehicle. So you put in your regular expression, you put in a test string, and you see if you get a match. Pretty cool. This is available, I believe, too, at the command line. There are ways you can do this too. So that would be configuration, firewall, objects, regular expressions. Unfortunately, the intrusion prevention system management software doesn't have any kind of a regular expression tester like that. So guidelines for custom signatures. Well, yeah, you want to go after signatures, like I said, that are custom to your environment, attacks that would be custom to you, and you want to go ahead and make sure that you create them specifically enough where you're not overwhelmed with false positives. What's a false positive? Well, false is a bad thing, and positive means that the alarm triggered. So you don't want to be so general with these things that they're triggering all the time. There is a deobfuscation. I won't even try and say that word today. How's that? But we want to watch out for evasion. And obviously the intrusion prevention system, as we're going to see, can help guard against the evasion techniques that we covered earlier in the course. And we know that attackers will try against us. Well, I said there was a wizard available for you to help you create a custom signature. Let's go ahead and take a look at that wizard right now. You start the wizard, you then provide name and description, you provide necessary information for Cisco to go ahead and create the custom signature for you, and voila, you get your custom signature. Let's walk through a scenario. So we need a custom HTTP signature. And we decide, oh yeah, there's that protocol parsing service HTTP engine. Yeah, that's right. We've got a signature engine that is designed to go ahead and watch over very closely our HTTP traffic. So that'll be a perfect engine for us to use. We're going to go ahead and trigger this signature when there are 3 requests to /vulnerable.php on any of our web servers inside of a 60-second interval. Oh, wow, pretty cool. Notice this is very custom to our environment. We have some vulnerable resource, right? We're pretending, of course, here, but we have some vulnerable resource. And if someone's banging away at that, within that 60-second interval, we're going to trigger the alert. What's going to happen? Well, we do want an alert produced. No surprise there. And wow, we want to do intrusion prevention. We want to go ahead and drop that offending packet. We know that this is an attack. Absolutely. So we're going to set the signature fidelity rating to 100, and we are going to set the ASR to a rating of high. What's the ASR? Well, you remember that's the attack severity rating. So we feel like, okay, this signature is absolutely dead on, and this is an attack that could indeed cause us a lot of grief. So in the HTTP communications, if this particular request is done a number of times, I think it was 3, inside that 60-second interval, well, this matches this custom signature that we are creating, and we do some intrusion prevention and some alerting of this fact. Okay, where are we going to do this with the wizard? Policies, signature definitions, SIG0, active signatures, no big surprise there. And we are going to use the top right signature wizard button. The first screen welcomes us and asks us to select an engine. What if we say no? Well, we'll cover that scenario next. The intrusion prevention system will then pick an engine for you based on the information you give it. Pretty cool. So in our case, we're going to say, yes, we know what engine we want to use. It's the service HTTP engine, and we're going to click Next. Next up, the wizard has us complete a signature ID. And notice this is pretty cool. The intrusion prevention system will help you with this. Yeah, it'll help you with this. By the way, there is a range that is the custom range, and we're going to go ahead and start in that range. Obviously, you wouldn't want to step on a signature ID that already exists. We're not going to be doing sub-signatures here. We'll just give this an ID of 0. We give it a name, we give any notes we want, and any user comments. Notice that these two fields are really nice fields for us to go ahead and give some documentation to this particular signature that we are creating. In our third step here of the wizard, we go in and we really give the guts of the signature. Yeah, we indicate what's going to happen. What are those desired actions? We de-obfuscate. Hey, I can say it now. We make sure that that's turned on. We specify the particular conditions. Okay, so we do our regular expression in this particular case, and we indicate that we are going after HTTP traffic with this particular signature. On the next screen of the wizard, we specify the signature fidelity rating, we specify the attack severity rating, and we then move on to a screen that allows us to either finish the wizard or go through some optional configuration steps. We can go into the advanced area and we can give that number of occurrences. So notice in this particular case, the advanced options were absolutely critical for us. Yeah, we had to come all the way to this step in the wizard because we said it's not an attack unless it's happening so many times in a particular period. Here we base that event count key on an attacker address, and we use our 60-second interval. What else can we do here under advanced? Well, we can indicate how we're going to summarize the alerts. And if we want to summarize the alerts, we're going to go in and we are going to set the intervals and things on that summarization. And notice we can also set that dynamic global summarization. When we're done, we'll verify this thing. Go in and edit your signature that just got created and go in and verify the settings that the wizard created for you. Obviously, everything should look just perfect if you completed the wizard in the appropriate and correct way. And then obviously, I would recommend you really verify the signature by launching the attack. Yeah, that would be the ultimate way, right? Go ahead and launch the attack and ensure the intrusion prevention system took the appropriate actions. Now, what if you didn't specify a signature engine? Well, the wizard will help you. It'll say, all right, well, I'm going to quiz you a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and select the appropriate signature engine for you. Yeah, so now we're really leaning on the signature engine to help us with the, we're leaning on the custom wizard in order to help us. Let me show you a quick example of this. So here we want to trigger whenever the command user root is sent to the POP3 server. This should produce an alert and it should do intrusion prevention. We want to set the signature fidelity rating to 80 and the attack severity rating to medium, and we want to use the custom signature wizard in order to identify the correct engine. All right, so here we go. We start the wizard, and the whole joke here is we say, no, we don't know what engine to use. Help us select an engine. And so the wizard will say, okay, what layer 3 or layer 4 protocol are we dealing with? We say, okay, we're dealing with transmission control protocol, layer 4 TCP. And it says, okay, well, are you dealing with a single packet, a single connection, or multiple connections? We indicate here a single TCP connection. And it says, all right, what application layer protocol are we dealing with? We're dealing with POP3, so we would go ahead and specify other. And then we get into more of the standard screens that we're used to. We give the SIG ID, we give name, alert, user comments. We go in and we specify the matching criteria. And notice we're using the POP3 service port of 110. And then, guys, the joke here is, of course, the signature wizard will take everything that you do. Here we're doing signature fidelity rating and the severity level, and we're doing our optional steps of configuration. And the beauty of this thing is, when we're done, the signature is created and Cisco assigns it. Cisco ties it with the appropriate signature engine. Okay? Now, if you're really good, you don't use any stinking wizard. No, you're too good for a wizard. You go in and you manually configure your custom signature. Well, yeah, of course, this is no big deal, right? We'll give you a quick example. You're going to go in and create one here that triggers on an SNMP packets with my weak community string. It's going to produce an alert. You're going to set signature fidelity rating and attack severity rating, and you're going to specify what devices are vulnerable to this attack. And you don't use the wizard. Instead of using the wizard button under active signatures, you go in and you use the add button. And you're bravely just completing the appropriate fields in the add signature dialog box. Now, let's wrap up this section. Now that you know several ways in which we could create a custom signature, let's wrap up this particular section by doing something very smart, giving you some overall guidelines on custom signature creation. First of all, oh yeah, remember those protocol decoding engines? One that we used and leveraged in this particular section was that HTTP engine. Those are so powerful. Do reassembled stream matching for TCP applications. Use per packet matching for UDP apps. Expect protocol violations and substitutions. So rely on the de-obfuscation, which the intrusion prevention system can do. Try and be more generic than specific, but obviously watch out for too many false positives. And then test, because you do not want to create an environment where you're just constantly getting those false positives, or even worse, those false negatives, where the attack traffic slips through.